Welcome back to another episode. I'll be talking about my experience traveling to Costa Rica, mainly the adventures I went on, people, and even providing tips on how to meet local women. Yes, this will still be a tech review channel, but I like trying new things out. I do read comments, so I'm interested in hearing what you have to say. My journey starts from Toronto, Canada, a layover in Orlando, Florida, and finally San Jose, Costa Rica. My first adventure started with a trip to Rio Celeste Waterfalls, a 1 to 2 hour drive north of San Jose. I booked this trip through Airbnb, so you'll see me with American tourists on the trip. The drive from the city into the mountains was very beautiful and very scenic, with never-ending forests and small towns along the way. The journey to the Blue Falls itself is a 10 to 15 minute hike, and I strongly recommend that if you go on this adventure that you wear hiking shoes. Check out my review on the Nordic hiking boots, by the way. The path will consist of a lot of rough stones of various sizes, so it can be easy to trip and injure yourself if you don't have good footwear. Now, the color of the water itself is a sight to behold. The turquoise blue can come in various shades depending on the lighting and area you're standing in. For those who are curious to know the chemistry behind the blue color, I'll post a link in the description below where you can learn more. The whole site itself is very majestic. It's normal to see the red-orange iron oxide in the rocks, complementing the turquoise blue of the water and the deep green of the foliage.
Here we are at Blue Falls in Costa Rica, a beautiful sight to behold. The water color is naturally like this. There's no preservatives or anything like that. It's actually a beautiful view. What do you think about it? Oh, it's incredible. So beautiful.
Due to the amount of minerals in the water that comes from a nearby volcano, I'm told by locals and even visitors that the water contains healing properties that can alleviate some minor joint issues. After spending 5 minutes in the lukewarm water, most of the soreness and tightness I felt in my knees and hips from hiking were gone. After the trip to the waterfall, my tour guide took me and the other tourists to a local restaurant down the road. Here you can see Gustavo, an enthusiastic and kind Costa Rican, arm wrestling with a Jay, an American musician and producer. I had a casado, a Costa Rican meal consisting of rice, beans, meat and veggies, since I needed the energy for the next phase of our trip. It's so hard to describe the feeling of awe, watching the clouds make their way around the tops of distant mountains and the never-ending foliage, but I know it had a calming effect on me. The final leg of the trip was to the hot springs, and the site was nice, albeit smaller than the Blue Falls. There's things like ziplining and touring the cave, but I didn't try those. The hot and mineral-rich waters did wonders on my sore joints and put me and the other tourists in high spirits before we made our way down the mountain. My next adventure was going on a historical tour around downtown San Jose. I wanted to learn more about the country, politics, economy, and more because I'm interested in being a digital nomad. My tour guide was Alejandro, a friendly Tico who completed his master's in history and knew a ton of historical facts about the country that most Ticans didn't know about. Downtown San Jose is bustling with life, but I found that the paths were wide enough that you'd never bump into a fellow pedestrian. My favorite thing about downtown is the public open spaces that encourage people to meet up and sit in the warm outdoors for hours. Here we went on a quick walk to a local bazaar. I forgot the actual name of it, which was nice. He explained that places like this were common through the country and you can find almost anything you wanted here. According to Alejandro, it's normal to see live performances like these around downtown, and tourists stopping to watch for minutes at a time. parakeets are monogamous for life, and you often see them flying together. They make their nets at the top of buildings and high areas, so if you visit downtown, you'll hear a lot of chirping, while it'll be near impossible to know where exactly it's coming from. Here's another example of how San Jose designs its urban spaces. I noticed that these spaces always had a lot of plants and trees around, which created a common effect for visitors who needed a break from the hustle and bustle. If you just want to hang out with family or friends for hours, this area is comfortable enough to do so, but a short distance from a convenience store if you're hungry. Even though there are cars driving around, the trees and vegetation tends to absorb most of the noise and give enough shade for people. The rotunda is constructed for live musical performances and designed in such a way that performances won't need any form of amplification technology. The urban design is made downtown as pedestrian friendly as possible and easy to navigate. I noticed that there are a few buildings over 10 stories casting long, dark shadows. This means you get plenty of sunlight at the street level, thereby remaining in a positive mood as you walk to your destination. The Natural Museum of Costa Rica would be the final destination of the tour. Alejandro explained to me the history of how the museum was originally a military fort and Stalin turrets, and went on to detail how it would be converted to a museum and the symbolism behind it. Heading home, I got to see my first sunset in Central America. It's hard to describe the feeling of solo traveling and seeing sights like this by yourself. I stood there watching how the clouds gently rolled over the mountaintops, and I wondered what it must be like for people in those areas. Were they happy? What was family like for them? What was their hopes and dreams? Support the channel by hitting the like, subscribe, and share button. Making high quality videos takes a lot of time and effort, but the only way I can grow this channel is with your help. Feel free to donate crypto or money via PayPal. Links in the description below. So let's talk about the people. I found Costa Ricans to be really warm and welcoming people who take pride in their country. On New Year's Eve, people were outside their homes, lighting fireworks and playing music early into the morning. I watched as neighbors take family photos to memorialize the occasion and realized how important family values are here. The culture here is family-oriented and emphasizes a solid work ethic to provide for your family and relatives. A couple came up to me and we started talking. Stephanie and Alex lived in the neighborhood and asked where I was from, my experience in their country, and adventures, and so on. We stood there for a good 2 hours chatting, sometimes with the help of Google Translate, about our lives, our line of work, places we wish to travel to, and more. For example, Stephanie wants to visit Lake Moraine in Alberta, Canada one day, and I encouraged her to do so. We agreed that when we'd meet again, I'd be proficient in Spanish and they'd improve their English. The fastest way I found to meet women is by using apps like Tinder and paying for Tinder Gold. Gold allows you to change your location to anywhere in the world with unlimited likes. I strongly recommend that you open this type of account at least 7 days before you arrive in the country. If you open the account too early, the woman will lose interest fast. But if you open it too late, like a day before arriving, then you can miss the chance to meet up since she could have other plans. From there, swipe until your heart's content. I found that while a few women were fluent in English, most were not. So in that case, Google Translate will help a lot, but if your schedule permits, I recommend that you pick up some Spanish classes to help you get familiar with the language. If apps aren't your thing, I found that ticas are friendly and easy to approach in real life. However, you do need to make sure that you have the basic Spanish vocabulary down, and I found that they don't mind using Translate to communicate with you. Things to know: Costa Rica is literally one of the most politically and economically stable countries in Latin America. From what I've seen, the women are satisfied and happy to live their entire lives here and have little interest in leaving. Education here is basically free and or affordable to most, so you'll find their dating profiles mention what they're studying in university or their current profession. If you think you're going to impress a woman with money or being a foreigner, you're in for a rude awakening. So leave your white knight thinking in your home country. Ticas come in all colors and sizes, depending on where and what your preferences are. For example, Alejandro made mention of Chinese immigrants who made Costa Rica their home decades ago, so it's possible that you run into Spanish-speaking Chinese Costa Ricans. Cities like Limon are heavily Afrocentric, but I didn't have time to travel there in person. Yeah, I did match with some pretty black ticas on Tinder from that city. Overall, Ticas are beautiful and friendly to talk with. Unlimited warm sunlight, fresh organic food, and ease of travel to the beach or national parks will do that to you. I found that I was never stressed around them, and they showed curiosity and femininity in getting to know about me and where I was from. So if you're looking for a wife, Costa Rica just might be the place to look. If you're in San Jose and want to visit Jaco Beach, you can take a coach bus there, which will take about 2 hours. You can buy the bus tickets online or in person, which will cost between $6 to $10 Canadian. But if you want to avoid confusion and missing your bus, I recommend that you buy it online. The buses leave exactly on time, so if you're late to the station, you'll have to buy a new ticket. And yes, I learned that the hard way. I booked another hiking trip, and this one will involve traveling to 10 interconnected waterfalls. The hike was more difficult than the Rio Celeste one because the path was entirely rocky and increasingly vertical. On this trail, you need to wear swim shorts because you'll get into water that gets high to your shoulders.
The Hospital de Niños, they use this plant for make a tea for the asthma. So this is muy importante para nosotros. Y the sloth, the animal, the sloth, eat this for sleep. So it's like a drug for them. So exactly. So they use this for sleep too.
It was here that I learned about water shoes from another tourist. You can see him wearing chacos as he climbs up the wall. While my boots were good for the first part of the trip when I was in shallow streams, they became a hindrance once we went into deeper pools of water. Even the woman in the blue tank top is wearing water shoes, but hers has toe guards. Each site was slightly different from the previous, and at times required teamwork with the tour guides to make it to the next level. Eventually, we made it to the last waterfall where you can jump off of a platform into the deep water below. I was really impressed at how the guides were quick to assist the tourists and how professional they were in answering any questions we had. Fortunately, the walk down was easier than the climb up. You can see that the path consists of dirt held back with wooden boards, so I was walking down steps of red soil. And here we are at the end of the hike. Such an adventure is physically draining, but part of this tour consisted of the tour operator arranging for the taxis to pick us up and drive us to a nearby restaurant. The meal cost was already included in this Airbnb tour.
Hey, thank you.
The warmth, brightness of Jaco makes you eager to be outdoors and actually explore the city. This open-air restaurant where I got my breakfast was interesting since there's no doors, windows, or barriers. That's how stable and consistent the weather is in this city. Along my walk to the next tour operator, I saw these horses grazing. You never see such creatures in person in a city like Toronto, but I found it interesting to be so close to them as they grazed in the field. My next tour was learning how to surf. I don't have much footage, but the beach is beautiful and clean. The surf instructors taught us the basics and had us practice on land so we could learn how to stand up on the board to ride the waves as well as how to dismount safely. The beach sand was hot and Pacific Ocean so warm. You have to walk really far in the water before it gets above your neck, so I wasn't worried about drowning. Initially, I was worried about large rocks underwater, but those worries were unfounded, or at least the areas where we were in the water. Naturally, I fell several times into the salty water, but surprisingly I was able to find my balance faster than the other tourists with me. The trick is finding your center of balance like you would on a bike. It's hard to explain, but you just have to feel it. You can see my surf instructor and John and fellow surf mate watching as I'm about to crash into her boyfriend Harry. I was so close to having a perfect ride all the way to land, but didn't have the fine motor control yet to turn around him, so I jumped off the board to avoid decapitating him. The surf instruction was only 2 hours, but I had a blast learning a new sport in such a beautiful country. Overall, I had a great time in Costa Rica and hope to visit again to see more national parks, volcanoes, beaches, and more. Visiting this tropical country will elevate your mood because of the perfect weather, beautiful women, fun outdoor activities, and fresh organic food. This is my first travel video, and I'd like to hear your feedback in the comments below. If you haven't already, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next episode.